You know, what I try to do is just try to be still and understand that things come and go, emotions come and go. The important thing is to accept them all, to embrace them all, and then you can choose to do with them what you want versus being controlled by emotion. You know, a lot of times I've seen players, even myself, you know, when I was younger, being consumed by a particular fear, and to the point where you're saying, okay, nah, it's not good to feel fear. I shouldn't be nervous in this situation, like, nah. And it does nothing but grow versus stepping back and saying, yeah, I am nervous about this situation. Yeah, I am fearful about this situation. Well, what am I afraid of? And then you kind of unpack it. And then it gives you the ability to look at it for really what it is, which is nothing more than your imagination.
Execute. Execute on the things that they say they wanted to get done. Not what you want me to get done, my mother wants me to get done, my coach wants me to, but the things that I really feel like if I do these things, I'm going to be successful. Execute on the things that you said you were going to execute on. So the first thing you got to do is you got to get out of your feelings. Like for me, these are great people who could blow up, like who could be successful, whatever they touch, but something happened that day. You know, you woke up, got into it with your spouse or your kids called with something that was going on, or you were sick. Like there are a group of people that feel like it's okay not to execute because I'm not feeling okay, because today is not a good day, because all the stars didn't line up. And at the end of the day, none of that matters. Like to have a good day is great, but just because you have a good day, you still got to execute. And so I think for most people, they go wrong because they think it's a feeling when execution is a fact.
Leading them the right way and teaching them, you know, how to fish, you know what I mean? And so like the consistency of work, Monday, get better. Tuesday, get better. Wednesday, get better, right? And you do that over a period of time, you know, not like 1 month or 2 months. I mean, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And then you can get to where you want to go. It's just piece by piece, and it's the consistency of the work, which I feel like a lot of parents are missing today because we're not teaching that to our kids. We tend to say like kids don't want to do the work, but in reality, it's when we're failing them.
Like, yo, this doesn't matter. What matters is the success that I want, what I promised my grandmother, what I promised my mother, what I promised my wife, what I promised myself. And so Inky's thing was, yo, despite this happening, I owe it to myself to still be the person that I dreamed of being, and this setback will only be a setup for a comeback.
62% of young children are dropping out of sports, 62%. And they cite the fact that it's not fun anymore. Well, what does that tell them? I mean, that's telling us as grown-ups are getting in the way. Get out the way. Let these kids be imaginative, which, you know, like in our stories, it's important that, yeah, there's a fantasy nature to it, right? But it's rooted in reality. Right? When we have fire-breathing winged horses and things of that nature, those are actual drills that are taking place. We don't have fire-breathing winged horses actually performing that, but we do have ball machines that are spitting balls at tennis players, right? And so all of our stories are all anchored in an element of truth. So that like our job is to try to inspire the creativity inside of our children, so that they can think through how to problem solve situations. So like, you know, when I coach my daughter's team, it's not about giving them answers. It's about asking them questions and getting them to process things, right? When the game is being played, I'm not sitting there giving them answers or barking out things on the sideline. I sit down and I'm quiet. My assistant coach sits there and she's quiet. And the kids figure things out for themselves, or they don't. And then they come back and there's always questions, and then you kind of ask them more questions and you help them figure it out. But then you see their level of excitement to practice every day increase, because it's a process that they are owning, right? They're not coming to get orders barked at them. They're coming for kind of their personal quest to get better.
You're already in pain. Get a reward for it. Like you're already in pain. So at the end of the day, everything is already messed up. So why would you go through all that pain and not get something for it? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to put all those hours in. Okay, yeah, it was football, but it doesn't make sense to put all those hours in and not transfer those hours to something else. It doesn't make sense not to recycle the pain and get wealth or a successful life, a successful spouse, like whatever, have kids, whatever it is. And so for me, just going through my go through, I was like, it can't end here. Like, bro, it can't end here. I've worked too hard. I've read the books. I've gone to the conferences. I went to the classes. I got the degrees. Like, it can't end with just life is gonna deal me this hand, you know? And so I truly feel, and I don't wanna promote gambling, you know, but I gambled, you know, as a young adult to make money. And I watched guys who had a royal flush lose because of the giddy and the excitement. I'm like, oh, he got something. You know what I'm saying? Okay, take what I have and leave. But I also watched people who had nothing in their hand with that poker face actually act as if they had a royal flush and win. And so I learned early, like, yo, it doesn't matter if you grow up rich. You still got to play your hand. It's not like life says, all right, you rich, so you're not going to have any, your parents will never get cancer. You know, nobody in your family will ever have multiple sclerosis. Like, you'll never get COVID. You're rich. It doesn't work like that. Like, you still have to do life regardless of how you come into life. And I think some people feel, well, if you come into life and everything is great, then that's the way you live life. But no, it doesn't matter. If you come in great, if you come in poorly, it does not matter. You have to do life. And if you're smart, you do life on your terms and you don't let life make you do it on its terms.
Yeah, I think the important thing is research. You know, in the hall here in the office, I have a hall that I call Muse Hall. We have all the portraits of some of our muses here, from J.K. Rowling to, you know, Steve Jobs and so forth and so on. And I think it's important to research them. And it's like putting, you know, fuel in the fire every day. You know, there's constant inspiration. You read about them, what they were able to accomplish, how they went about accomplishing it. You're just constantly, you know, feeding that flame and learning. And the best way to do that is to learn from the people who have done it.
Yes.
100%. Because their stories still live, which brings us to the importance of storytelling.
Yeah.
Their stories still live. These muses are here. It's important to learn from them. And if anything, it helps you remember that they are human, just like us.
Yeah.
These great things that get accomplished can be accomplished by others and beyond. You know, building Walt Disney Company is not something that, you know, people look at and scoff at and go, oh, it can't be done anymore. Well, why not? Why not?
Yeah. And the more action you take, the more you think it's possible.
Yeah, because you realize they're people just like us. They make mistakes just like us. And they kept going. And we can do the same.
And not necessarily church, because I didn't grow up going to church. So it wasn't like the building, it's magical. But the pastor there was a military man. I think he was an army man, you know, so he had love, but it was tough love, right? And I'll never forget, he pulled me to the side and he gave me something that I had never had before, and that was purpose. He gave me a sense of purpose, and he said to me, you are a phenomenal speaker. You gotta imagine, I'm like 16, almost 17, high school dropout, coming to church smelling, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's so funny, like when people like, your story, I think that's funny. They're like, man, you have a phenomenal story. I'm like, I wish this was a story. Yeah. Like, this is my life. So I'm literally coming to church when I come, haven't brushed my teeth, I haven't taken a shower. I smell based on whatever was the last time I had an opportunity to take a shower. You know, I'm in a strained relationship with my mom. I'm on the verge of getting kicked out of school. I have no bank account, no credit cards. And this guy looks at me and says, you're gonna be a phenomenal speaker. Like, you got that je ne sais quoi. You have something about, and I'm thinking, what? First of all, nobody's ever said anything like that to me before. And nobody's definitely said it in the state that I'm in. And so for me, I'm pulling for strings for something in life. And this guy's like, yo, you got it. And not only do you have it, I believe in you so much that I'm gonna use my name at my alma mater to get you in school. If you could just get a high school diploma or a GED, we're gonna get you. And so I don't know if it was him, I don't know if it was the words, but this sense of purpose and this identity, like, yo, you're right. I've never seen speaking in the way he saw it before. I got in trouble clowning in class, telling jokes, but now he's saying that what I do, what Martin Luther King, what Malcolm X, what Garvey, what these people do, you have the ability to do it. And it was at that point, I wasn't homeless, and I don't think I've ever said this before, but I was homeless, but I wasn't discouraged at that point anymore. Like, it was the craziest thing. I was literally homeless practicing sermons. I was literally homeless visualizing being in college. You know, at that time, A Different World was on a spinoff, you know, from the Cosby Show. And like, you could actually, I was like watching A Different World and seeing myself in the cafeteria, seeing myself in the dorm room. So this was the first time in my life that I had this sense of life, this sense of purpose that, yo, I am not worthless, despite the fact that what I considered, my parents, they weren't married. They weren't in a long relationship. Like, I saw myself as an accident. Like, these are two kids, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was in love, in lust, I don't know what it was, but there wasn't a nursery. There wasn't a book with names. You know, there wasn't a baby shower. You know, I looked at myself like I'm an accident. And this is the first person who spoke to me and said, really, you're not an accident. You really were designed to be here, and you have a phenomenal gift that's going to change the world. And it was at that point, I'm in abandoned buildings, seeing myself speak. I'm in abandoned buildings, you know, seeing crowds. I'm in abandoned buildings, seeing myself travel. And it was at that point, I believe, that this Eric Thomas, not this version, I was definitely the Eric Thomas 1.0, but it was at that point that I began to see myself in the way I'd never seen myself before. Feeling this, I owe pastor and I owe all the people that sort of helped me to get from where I was to where I am now. And I owe them that tough love, you know, and I owe it to them to believe in themselves and to see that, like, I owe it to myself to recreate that moment between me and him with as many people as I can, as often as I can, because he said to me, listen to me, there's absolutely nothing you can do for me but pay it forward. Wow. And at that time, I don't know what pay it forward was. I didn't see the movie at the time, you know, but afterwards I began to understand what he meant. And so I literally wake up every day believing that I owe the people who didn't owe me anything. Now, again, I don't know this to be a fact, but I do believe that there are people who believe that I have value because of where I am. You're talking about people who, at my lowest point, that believed in me in the way somebody today would believe in me based on what I do when I hadn't done anything. And so I'm like, wow, that's rare. People don't necessarily do that. And I just felt I'm obligated to do that to as many people as I possibly can. And that's what I wake up. Like, I wake up every day with this, all right, I'm gonna win a Nobel Prize. And it's not about the Nobel Prize, it's not about Norway. It is about, if LeBron and Michael Jordan are playing for the finals and Gretzky is playing for the Stanley Cup and somebody else is playing for the pennant, like my pennant is the Nobel Prize, because you don't get that without helping millions of people get from one place in their lives, you know, to another.
You need a goal.
No, you know, I think for me, and as a speaker, I try to start with, like, where are you? So if you're in poverty, it's like, okay, I gotta show you wealth. Like, in your own world, I've gotta show you that this ideology that you're holding on to is probably not yours. You know, I tell people all the time, when I grew up, you know, it was no college. Why didn't I want to go to college? I was in Detroit. In Detroit, you could make $25 an hour working for Ford, GM, or Chrysler. So when you were a kid growing up in Detroit, like, the goal, the apex is, I got a job at Ford Motor Company. I've got salary, I've got insurance, I've got health benefits, 401k, like, I've got a career. And so for you growing up in Detroit, you see Ford, the bigger buildings are GM, you see Chrysler, Iacocca, like, you see him on magazines and books, and he's on the New York Times bestsellers list, and it's like, whoa, GM, Chrysler. And so what I do is I figure out where you are, and I dare you to come out of where you are to, if nobody ever influenced you, where would you want to be? Like, what do you want? What do you want to do? Not what they want you to do. If you could dream, if like, what would your best life look like for you? If you didn't have to impress your mom or your dad, if you didn't have to go to college because your parents went to college, like, what would you really do? And then if they can tell me, which most people can, some people are so dark that they don't even know what light would look like. But more often than not, a kid would tell me NBA. I said, no, don't, okay, the NBA is over. Where do you live? Where do you live? Are you married? Do you have children? And if I can figure out where you want to go, At that point, I can snatch your current reality and help you to build a new reality to help you to get where you go. So what I try to get kids to do is say, look, I want to expose you. You could go to LA without going to LA. You could put the things on and go to LA. You can go on the computer. You can read a book. Like, you can get to sunset without ever going. And then once you get to sunset here and get to sunset here, you can get to sunset here. So for me, it's I got to get in here and I got to get in here. And if you let me into these two spaces, I can get you wherever you're trying to get to. People have to understand, and this was Utah. You know, this was a group of guys 25 to 40 years old. And it was like, guys, you got to understand the opportunities that you have. You know, I've been to third world countries where it does not matter how early you wake up. It does not matter how long you stay up. It doesn't matter what your skill sets are. It doesn't matter. You don't have opportunity. You have people all over the world who are dying to get here, literally dying to get here. You have an opportunity of a lifetime, and where much is given, much is required. So if you have an opportunity to be wealthy, to build phenomenal relationships, to start a business, like you got LLC, nonprofit, you know what I'm saying, S Corp, like you got opportunities. You got banks that you can get loans from. You can go online and sell stuff from online. Like, you don't even have to have a store anymore. A storefront, like you can literally become rich from your watch. So it's like, yo, instead of you looking at everything that's not, look at what is. So absolutely, is there some stuff to complain about? 1000%. There's a whole bunch of stuff I can complain about. It's a lot of stuff that I can be angry about. But man, my grandmother died at 93, and a month later, my other grandmother died at 90. I didn't realize how quick life was. I'm like, yo, my grandmother was 93. I spent 51 years with both of them. They're gone. It's over. I will never be able to talk to my grandmother again. And I'm next. So because life is short, I don't have time to focus on what's not. I've got to focus on what is, then get up and go get it. And for me, it's like, guys, some of you in this room have opportunities that I don't have. Some of you in this room have connections or network I don't have. And I'm killing the game and you're not. So I need you to understand where you are. America's not perfect. I don't know if there's a place on planet Earth that is. So we're not looking for perfect, but we are looking for opportunity, and we have it. So it's like, yo, say it, because I need you to understand what you have. And then I need you to appreciate what you have. And then I need you to go after everything that's got your name on it with no excuses, because man, when I pulled up and I saw, the skyline, I was like, yo, do you know there were people 400 years ago, 300 years ago, who were in the process of building this, and it was a vision and they never got to experience it? Like, yo, do you know what type of mindset you have to build something that you know that you're not going to get to enjoy, but yet you put energy into it because you're thinking about the next generation? You've got this vision that's going to outlast you. Like, that's rare. And so now it's been built. Go fly first class. It's been built. Go live on people ask me, why do you live on the East Coast and then you live on the West Coast? Because it's two coasts. That's why. And if I can get a house in the Gold Coast, I'm going there. So it's like, yo, we have opportunity. Whatever you do, don't waste it. Don't cry about it. Get up and go make it happen. Individuals' ability to check and hold people accountable. Like, I'm like, yo, it's crazy. If you weren't wired to check people, or when somebody can't, didn't meet your expectations, I would be like, yo, don't hold yourself accountable. But like, I literally look at humans when somebody doesn't pay them back on time, or somebody picks them up later, somebody doesn't keep their promise. Like, you feel this, why didn't you, how dare you? And I'm like, well, how do you pass you in the mirror? Like, yo, I'm not mad that you held him accountable, but how can you hold another human that responsible, but you don't hold yourself responsible? Like, how is that possible? Like, somebody doesn't do what you think they should do and you go off, but then you give you a pass. Like, you don't go off on you. I'm like, yo, if you go off on my man, that's cool. But when are you gonna go in the mirror and check yourself? Like, why are you giving yourself a pass? Why are you giving yourself an out? That same energy you have to let others know about themselves, you cuss my man out. He didn't, whatever it was he was supposed to do, he didn't do. He almost ran into your car. Like, you cussed my man out. Like, you went off. But then you didn't finish school, or you didn't write the book, or you didn't do the album, or you didn't go back to school, or you told yourself you was gonna lose weight, and you just let yourself off the hook like, well, you didn't do it, poor you. I'm saying, no, do me a favor. With that same energy you use to hold somebody else accountable, hold yourself accountable. Because here's the deal. You hold me accountable and I change. How do you benefit from that? Like, how do you benefit from getting on me and making me make adjustments and corrections? You don't benefit from that. You don't get the money that I make when my business blows up or when I get my degree. And I've seen people get on me. Eric, you need to finish school. I'm like, bet. But you got some stuff that you need to overcome. I literally listened to you. You got on me and you checked me about not finishing what I started. Okay, well, I finished what I started. But you still haven't checked you about some of the character defects you have. So that's why I get a little taken back, because I'm saying use that same energy you use on others. I'm not saying don't hold people accountable, but I'm saying use that same energy on yourself. And you'd be shocked how much further you'd be in life if you just punish yourself, if you put you on punishment.
True. Staying stuck is a choice. I believe that we all get stuck at times. Like, in order to grow, you're going to have to enter into a level that's unfamiliar territory. And when you step into unfamiliar territory, it can be scary. So I'm not saying that you gotta always be this superhuman, but what I am saying is that deciding that your situation is hopeless, oh, that's a choice. Deciding that it will not ever get better, oh, that's a choice. That is a choice. So even when life knocks you to your knees, you get to choose if you're gonna get up or not. And so you can decide to stay stuck. You can do your research, you can figure it out on your own. That may be time consuming, but you can do it that way. You can pay someone to teach you how to do it. You can pay someone to do it for you, especially as a business owner. A lot of times we're stuck trying to figure out how to build a website. Like, just pay somebody to do it. Why are you spending 2 weeks on something that is not in your area of expertise? Just get it done. So what I want to leave you with today is, whenever you get to a place where you feel stuck, where you feel like you're not growing, where you're not making progress, you must decide to break free quickly. I'm going to say that again. You must decide to break free quickly. You do not have to stay where you are. Life is meant to be progressive. You're expected to grow. You're expected to learn. You're expected to endure tough times, but you're also expected to break out of it.